Yes, yes. We are ready. We're going live, and we're holding up a little bit. Let people get used to the pop up.
Right.
Let's see.
So I should see the comments. Oh, let me see. Comment. Okay. I should see him now.
Yep. Corey Jones
What's
in the
up, Corey?
building. He said, "What's good, fellas? How you doing, brother? You ready to talk to some pop up shop culture style? Make sure everybody let us know you're here." And we are about to get on a quick topic for you guys. There's more people chiming in. Brother, we are doing good, man. You know, we made it to another week, and that is a blessing.
Right, right. Yep. Just as long as we got to make it through, you know.
Yeah, brother. How you doing, bro? How you
I'm
doing,
doing
Mr.
all
Hill?
right. Yeah, we're dealing with our issues,
Yes.
best as best we can.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, we're definitely praying for you and your family
Appreciate
there. So,
you.
Stephanie, how you doing, young lady? You said no. Wait, we haven't even started just yet. God, they're already ready. Should we get it going for them?
Yeah, let's get it started. This is just gonna be
Jimmy.
a short pop up. We're gonna do kind of preview and tease the show for tomorrow night.
Jimmy says yes. All right, so you guys ready to get it going? So let's just get it popping. All right, Doc.
Yes,
Won't
sir.
will you talk about the meme that you put up?
God, I remember? Okay, it had to do with does your ex-wife or ex-husband, does their new spouse or partner have the right to discipline your child?
Mm-hmm.
I
Yes.
mean, what's your answer on that?
Oh, it kind of depends on how far along the relationship is. Are you married? Not married? Um, is the other parent involved in this child's life?
Right,
If not,
right,
if I'm coming in and if he's not involved, he should have a say so.
right. So, do you think it has anything to do with now? Assuming that you wouldn't bring your children around someone that you haven't vetted, that you're not serious with, it's not a serious relationship, and
Yes,
also that your kids haven't developed a relationship with. You have to
absolutely.
work on that part
So we're
before you.
talking about later down the road. So we're talking about are we like living together? Have we went through all that other process?
Right,
Because the first step is I think any parent should have, if they can, have a conversation um, with the parents. You should have a conversation, especially if you're entering into that type of situation.
so then your ex is going to have to get to know your current, is what you're saying, and the content of their character.
I believe so. I think
Right?
that's better for all parties involved. I know that might be difficult for a lot of people, right? Especially
Yeah,
if you maybe didn't end the relationship uh, on a good note. It depends on if the relationship is amicable or not, too. So there's a lot of factors that go into that.
right, right. I mean, and like Corey said, if the couple lives together, it's kind of hard not to find yourself in that situation.
Absolutely, yeah. Corey's correct because you're gonna have
Yeah,
to be in that situation.
right. And the issue is how do you effectively navigate through that? Because now you're into pretty much a three parenting situation. So do the three parents, the step parent, non custodial parent, and the custodial parent sit down and have uh, um, um, conversations, on a regular basis about rearing this child and how to discipline them and what they should be disciplined for, just to make sure that everyone is on the same page.
I think you have to though. You can't just go in there and not have that type of conversation because if the child is living with you guys, even on a full time or even a part time basis, discipline is going to come up.
Right.
So how do you navigate that? You know, how about, let's say they're smaller children. Do you spank or you don't spank? Now that's even a tougher situation.
Yeah, that is. And like I said, all three parents have to have a conversation about that. Do we spank kids? And if one believes in it and one doesn't, well then, and if that's that step parent, parent's going to have to step back from any disciplining if they believe in spanking and the non-custodial parent does not. You're going to have to be on the same page with that one.
Should real quickly, let's see here. Yvonne said yes.
Yvonne,
So
we got a new viewer. Hope you tune in tomorrow night. It's going to get good. This is just a preview for tomorrow night because we're going to delve deeper into this, and we're also going to get into the divorce rate
why is it high?
and the divorce rate during COVID.
Yes. Yeah.
Because,
so this is just part of it.
Yeah, this is just part of it because once that divorce goes through, then there's the co-parenting, step-parenting portion that comes in, and how do you deal with disciplining them? But then again, what we're also going to touch further on is that women always say that they want to be in a relationship, they want marriage, they want a future, and that most men that they're running into aren't mature enough and aren't looking for that commitment. But then if you look at the divorce rates, 80% of the divorces that are filed for by women.
Oh, that high?
Yes, 80%. Why is that?
Why? Yeah, we got to ask some of you women. Why is that? Or
Yeah.
is it because you're not allowing the stepfather maybe to have some type of control in the household?
Right. I mean, or is it that you just wanted a wedding and you didn't want the maintenance of a marriage? Or is it something that is really cannot be reconciled? Because in this state, you don't have to state a reason for divorce other than irreconcilable differences.
Mm.
Can these differences be reconciled? And why are these women that are wanting and knowing that they want to be married for the long term and wanting this commitment, why are 80% of them, these marriages that are failing, filed by the woman? We're going to get into that tomorrow, you guys.
I got to. Oh, okay. But let's get to some of these comments. Corey says that somewhat depends on the caliber of folks in question here. If they are sensible, reasonable persons, there shouldn't be a problem because the partners should be of like mind on core subjects such as that. Corey, you're absolutely correct. But sometimes you have those conversations and you get into that situation and, views change, right?
Right. Absolutely.
Or they act like maybe that you didn't really have that conversation. So what do you do in that situation at that moment when your partner says, no, I never said you could discipline? How do you, how you navigate through that?
Right. And that's a conversation that's going to have to come up early in that relationship between the child and the step parent and between the custodial parent and the step parent. That where those boundaries are, you have to set those boundaries, and you have to set those boundaries with that child. But before you can get to disciplining, you have to earn the child's respect. Because if they don't respect you, they're not going to listen to anything you say. Disciplining doesn't have to be spanking. It can be grounding or some other kind of punishment, taking away your Xbox. And if that child doesn't respect you, they're only going to resent you for any discipline that you hand down.
Well, we got an interesting comment. Sandra D says spanking. Well, she says spanking is not necessary by any parent. Ooh.
Right. And a lot of parents feel that way. But the thing is, all parents don't feel that way. And some parents believe in spanking.
James, is these black parents that don't believe in spanking?
I don't think so. It depends on the job. You have to instill authority into your children at a very early age, and they're going to test your boundaries before they start walking. They're going to start seeing how far they can get, what they can get away with. And if you can set those boundaries and adhere to them, because you have to be consistent with your discipline. You can't let a child do something now, discipline them for something now, and let them get away with it 2 hours later. You have to be consistent. And once they see that consistency, then spanking usually won't have to come into play.
Yeah, but so you don't think spanking should be a part of the discipline?
I don't think it has to be, no.
Mantra? Huh?
No, it doesn't have to be, no.
Okay. Oh, okay. It is weird because I disagree with that. I think it should be the last resort.
Right. Okay.
It shouldn't be the first, no, but it should be a part of it. If a child keeps on misbehaving or keeps doing something, he needs to understand. And I'm kind of different because I don't think you should really spank girls. I think boys should get spankings. So I don't know.
The girls should just get away with it, huh?
No, I just think how about, I don't think a man should be spanking a daughter, though, his daughter.
Really? What if he's a single parent to that daughter?
You're right. I don't know. I'm just saying kind of my outlook, saying, yeah, you're right. There's always different types of scenarios and situations. I just think that, I know growing up in my household, my father didn't believe in spanking my sister. So,
Well, I mean, that's all well and good, but you have to have firm, strict disciplinary rules that you have to remain consistent with. You can't.
It has to be consistency. Yeah.
Yes. And once they see that consistency, they know that they can't. There's a guideline. There's a border. They can only get away with so much. They can only get so far, and that they have to listen to this parent.
Yeah.
What did Corey say? Corey said it's up to the adult to find a better, more efficient way to discipline. Ass whoopings don't do anything but instill temporary fear. And that's a good point. They do instill temporary fear. But do you have to instill fear in your kids in order to be able to discipline them without spanking them? Do you have to have the fear of something greater or something worse lurking?
But every kid is different. So I think every form of discipline has to be different for each child too, though.
Right.
Because what works for one child is not necessarily going to work for the next one.
Right.
There's some children, you just give them that firm look, or that, your voice changes, or the disappointment of being disappointed in them is enough for them to change their behavior too.
Right, exactly. And then there's a whole nother layer to that when you bring in that step parent.
Oh, that's a big layer.
Yeah. And then they may have a total different way of disciplining, and you have to base it on their relationship with that child. This is where all parents need to put their issues aside, what they have going on between them, if anything. Sometimes they get along great, but even if they don't, you have to come together for the good of the child.
Yeah. And another thing is, what if, as a step parent, you just don't get along with that child? I mean, what do you do in that situation? Does that automatically end the relationship, with your partner?
It doesn't end the relationship, but that partner just has to work harder to gain the respect of that child, I think.
Okay. Yeah. All right, let's see. Hold on here.
There has to be a mutual respect.
There has to be absolutely. Let's see. Nadia, how you doing? Nadia says you definitely have to have the respect of the child. Absolutely. And like the doctor says, by any means necessary, you got to gain it.
Absolutely. And sometimes it takes time. And I don't think you can start to discipline a stepchild until there's that mutual respect. And
it has to be, like you said, mutual respect, and it has to be time, though. You can't just get into the situation and think automatically you should be disciplining that child. That's wrong.
Right. And Corey said, my daughter listens just from me using my words. And that goes to the point that you brought up earlier. It's the tone of voice that change. It's the expression on your face. I spanked my daughter, I think, one time when she was under 2 years old, and that was in the potty training process, which I had my process, and it was one time. Other than that, I would get nose to nose with her, and I would talk very quietly. I would almost whisper, and she would tremble. She would be in fear then of that, but I've never had to whip her, and she turned out just fine.
Yeah. And like we saying, I think each child is different.
Yeah.
And it's finding the ways to communicate to them to get them to change a particular behavior is what is important. So you have to learn.
Absolutely. And so let's say you get into a situation and the non-custodial parent says, I don't want your new spouse or partner nowhere near my child as far as discipline goes. I don't want them telling them anything. Then does that leave free reign for the child to just run over them and do what they want if they adhere to that person's wishes? How do you navigate around that?
Well, I always say when you're in that household, then those are the rules in that household. It's what matters.
Right. But
so you can't control another household.
Right, but that's your child.
It is your child.
And that step parent, the best thing for them to do would have a conversation with the non-custodial parent and tell them, look, this is part of my life. Your child is in my life. I want the best for them. At times, I'm going to have to discipline him. Give me suggestions on the way to discipline your child.
And like you said, the most important thing is having that conversation, because it has to have a conversation. I got to know, hey, where are you coming from? Why do you think that the form of discipline that you're trying to instill is going to work?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, let's see here. Regina, how you doing? Regina said discipline, but not spank. So there's a lot of people so far that are in the agreement about the spanking aspect of it.
Right. And that's where you come into issues when a step parent, say the step parent believes in spanking, but the non-custodial parent is like, don't spank my child. But then the custodial parent and the step parent are down with spanking, but the non-custodial parent says, no, don't spank my child.
Yeah, it's hold on here real quickly. What's up, V? How you doing? V says the parents have to have the talk before co-mingling kids into the relationship. And I think me and the doc, we both agree with that. But you can have those conversations, but as we know, right, things change in those conversations, right? Or when things actually do happen.
Right. And is everyone going to be able, are the three parents going to be able to put their issues aside that they have between them and have that conversation in the best interest of the child?
Very hard to do. Donisha, how you doing? She says no. So no, there's one no there. Corey says, I have sent hella ex's kids to the corner instead of going upside the head. Great point.
There you go. Yeah.
Great point, Corey.
Yeah. I mean, but you have to develop a relationship and get to know these kids. You know, you can't discipline a kid that you don't know. So, I mean, you can suggest to their parent, hey, your child's stepping out of line, you know, but you can't take that role yourself until you know that child and the two of you have mutual respect for each
other. And do you have a conversation before you even moving in, let's say, with a potential step, you know? Do you have that conversation with your ex about that before it even happening? You know, this is what's going on.
Exactly.
Really? Okay.
You have to have that conversation. I mean, it's more.
But I'm talking about beforehand, before that even happens. You have that conversation, not when a day or two before you're about to move in, or should that be how much advance should you give the parent?
That's pretty much a case-by-case basis on how the relationship is going. But if you see your child's developing a positive relationship with this person, well, then you see, well, at some point we're going to be moving in. At some point, disciplinary action is going to come into play. So that's the time you need to have conversation. You need to bring all three parents together.
Regina says, I think that the earlier the parents enter the child's life plays a role.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So real quick, Doc, do you think it gets harder in the teenage adolescence, maybe teenage years?
Oh, even before teenage years, I'll say school age it gets difficult once that child is at a school age where they can actually understand and comprehend and starting to think for themselves and their brains starting to develop. You know, they're set in their ways and they're already partial to their custodial parent. Now here comes this other person into their life.
Coming in.
Yeah. Diane, how you doing, Diane? She says, we've been in that situation. The biological parent doesn't actively discipline or spank the child, so then they act out. The parents, oh, it moved. Okay, the parents need to be adults, speak with other adults in the household, and establish boundaries and methods in regards to discipline. That is correct, but when step parents are involved, there's that extra added layer of the non-custodial parent that is not living in the household and a step parent disciplining their child. That's the communication piece that needs to happen. Is between
Yes.
And that's up to that custodial parent to make that happen.
And it has to be constant.
How you doing, bro?
Constant communication.
Henry,
And
got to be on one accord so there was no division. Definitely, absolutely, Henry. Totally agree. All three parents. And there's always going to be one person in that dynamic that doesn't like the other parent. I don't like your new wife or whatever the case may be. All that needs to be put aside because you're looking for the greater good of the child.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Doc, I say we get people ready to tune in tomorrow at 8:30.
Yes.
So we can talk about, not only we might probably going to finish this conversation, but also talk about why are the divorce rates so high? Is it only COVID? Is it other factors? And what other factors? And why are women initiating the divorce?
Right. And on the flip side of that, women are we already have established that women mature faster than men. So therefore they know what they want. They want commitment. They want security. They want long-term stability. And so why are 80% of the divorces filed by women?
That is large. So we're gonna
tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night, tune in 8:30. Remember to like and share Shop Culture again tomorrow at 8:30.
That's right. And invite a friend and tell them to invite a friend. And it's going to be interactive. We're going to read as many of the comments as we can. They come in pretty fast, but we like to address our comments.
Man, we're getting them good, and we're getting them good right now. We're on it.
All right.
So thank you, everybody, once again for the relationship guru. You know who he is over there, the Mr./Dr. James R. Hill. And I'm Barry Crosby, and this is Shop Culture. Tune in tomorrow at 8:30.
Make it a point. Put it on your calendar. Tell a friend and tell a friend. We'll see y'all tomorrow. Have a good night.
We all can be friends.
Peace out, everybody.
Later.